Okay, here we are. We're watching Dwayne Garrettson heading his way out now on the qualifying course here at Johnson Valley, California for the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers, powered by Optima batteries. Already had plenty of action this morning. Seen 2 rollovers, and we've seen Dustin Friesian posting the fastest time so far. A time that's holding strong at 2 minutes 54. Dwayne making his way out through the rocks, nice and smooth. Look at this, it's Corey Burge there, lining up, beautiful looking car, getting ready to leave the line. This car you see from his number, it used to be a 4400 race car, now pushed into the 4800s, the Legends class. And that's exactly what the 4800s class is all about. It's about those older 4400 class cars having somewhere to play where they're not locking horns with those great big IFS monsters. Watching here, Dwayne Garrettson making his way out the back of Short Bus. Our on-course Mike's bringing us all.
All right, Michael Kiesling is on course. All right, Michael Kiesling will be leaving the line shortly. He's one of the ones we had to restart because of the rollover on course. We're coming back into Hammertown right now. You can see he's crossed that line. That's the actual finish line of the short course right there, is those 2 little checkered flags. They drop down through the Jeep arch, drop back down to the short course. That is the actual finish location, is right by that big monster can. Steve Moore, negative, nope, sorry. All right, we still have Michael waiting to start here. He's our restart. Gets to run the course again because of the rollover earlier. All day today we'll have qualifying coming to you live from the lake bed. Today is the 4-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifying. 3 different classes leaving the line today. We have the Yukon 4500 modified class, Spider Trax 4600 stock class, and the Brannick Motorsports 4800 Legends car classes. 3 different types of race cars on the course trying to get a good qualifier for the race later this week. Still waiting for this restart here to get off the line. Lots of cars lined up here in Hammertown, ready for this next batch of qualifying. All day today, we will see some amazing cars out here on course, tackling this all day long, and it's going to be a good day of qualifying action coming to you right here from Hammertown.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, Ian. No better place to be than Johnson Valley, California for the King of the Hammers 2019. We were talking earlier about the diversity of the cars, and it's so good to see.
Absolutely. Now we finally have some timing up here on stage I can share with you guys. So here's where we're at right now after our first batch of qualifying. Our fast qualifier is still Dustin Friesen with a 2:49 off the line. Right behind him, Ken Foltz with a 2:54, Scott Foley with a 2:58. Those are the only three vehicles to crack that 3-minute mark. Everyone outside of that is above 3 minutes. Shane Smith with a 3:05, Earl Christie with a 3:15, Jesse Lee with a 3:18. Basically, we're seeing a huge gap in that first pile of cars. Now the next batch that comes out here at 11 will really sort of set the pace. They now have a number to chase for all day, and we'll see if that 2:54 holds or if we lose it.
Let's not forget, later today we also have Power Hour, so all our favourites are going to be running around about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and that's sure to be top action. We've got the likes of Casey Gilbert sitting in there, last year's winner, and it's going to be really exciting to see him. I mean, he's as fast as in almost any other 4400 class car, but running in a 4800 class vehicle.
You know, that we've said this before, the Legends cars sometimes are those old 4400 cars that have sort of been moved down into the new class, and the question will be, with the right driver, can a 4800 car be as fast as a 4400 car? Sure. With the right guy behind the wheel, I think it can.
Absolutely, see it time and time again. But today is all about the 4600 and 4800s and 4500s, and it's fantastic to see this class just keeps growing and growing each year.
I think probably one of the coolest parts about Ultra 4 racing is the fact that we see growth across all the classes. You've seen so many new racers step up into that class. You've got new 44s, new 45s. You've even got a huge UTV race and a brand new race joining us here on the lake bed this year, don't we?
We do. Later on this week, we got the T1 Trophy Trucks racing. But most importantly, let's talk about tonight. We got the shootout tonight. We got the Rock Bouncers come to join the party, and they bring their own flavour of motorsport. Individual well. It's going to be great fun to see those tonight, and Scott and Miles will be telling you all about that a little bit later after Power Hour.
Absolutely. All right, action coming to you all week here from Johnson Valley, right here on the lake bed, live, brought to you. So we start tonight. Today we're doing our four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifying all today. Tonight is going to be at 5:55 p.m. will be our Holly EFI shootout, which we were just talking about, which is where the bouncers invade Johnson Valley, which is tons of fun. It is a great event for sure. And then after that, we have your Amsoil After Dark Ultra 4, 9 o'clock. It's going to be a live broadcast. Lots of fun there.
On Tuesday is the live broadcast. We've got qualifying for the 4400 class cars and also power hour in the afternoon. All the big guns come out to play. With Jason Shearer, Shannon Campbell, Waylon Campbell, the Gomez brothers. It will be fantastic.
And then something new this year is the Pit Crew Challenge, which will definitely be fun to watch. These guys come in. It's not something you normally see playing a part of the big race, but it actually is part of it. So now it's actually part of the live broadcast, a challenge between all the pit crews to see who's the best at getting their car ready to get back out on the race.
Now that's going to be really interesting to see, but also we've got the Everyman Challenge, the EMC, and we're watching qualifying for that today. So it's the 4-wheel parts Everyman Challenge, and it's one of my favorite events. 3 different classes out there, the 4500s, 4600s, 4800s, and also we're going to be doing After Dark in the evening, discussing all the day's action.
Yeah, I think you've got something to watch all day long. Thursday live broadcast is the Toyota Desert Racing T1 Invitational. We were just talking about that. The trophy trucks will be invading Johnson Valley for the very first time.
Yeah, as we watch more action coming here from Johnson Valley. It's 45-49, roars off the line and hits that first jump hard.
I believe that's Keesler leaving the line. He's the restart that we had to do because he was stopped on course during a rollover, so he's going to get a second chance at his qualifying lap, get out there and try and beat that top time. We're still sitting at the top time.
Okay, so is this
of 2:49. Yes, it's working now. Dude, I swear, does he have to do both or just one? Yeah, just do the one. Steve Moore right now on the line, ready to leave. Michael Keesler down on the course, climbing up that hill.
Yeah, look at the power he's putting down there. Looking really good as he heads up.
Steve Moore is now off the line. You can hear that's a turbo motor in that car, something different you don't see every day. But I saw him earlier in the pits working on that car. It's a different little setup, but you can definitely hear that turbo spool up as he screams through the short course. Right behind him is Cody Young. Will be leaving the line after him. We're still sitting with a 2:49 of a fast time. At 48.72 earlier, I saw him down in the ESOP welding and cutting booth. He was making some modifications to get it through tech, so he stopped by to borrow a welder. And we talked a little bit about that car. That is an older chassis. It's an older 4400 car that basically they've rebranded as a 4800 car. They went back to the single shock and did an engine change. And as I said, he's got a turbo engine in that thing, so you can actually hear it making a lot of power. And this is his first time out here racing at the King of the Hammers. So he's having a little bit of challenging on that rock course. A couple backups there, trying to get the right line up those rocks. He is struggling on that one section.
Yeah, it just goes to show how difficult this course is. It's so easy to take it for granted as we watch him there, all 4 wheels spinning. Now let's just watch this, Ian. Has he got a breakage there? Maybe he's broken a shaft. Or has he just purely got the wrong line?
I think he may be on a bad line choice at that point. I think he's still trying to feel it out. But as you can see, he's working his way through it, and he's finally going to make it up over and continue on. But those are the things that'll bite you in that qualifying lap.
It's so difficult. That's why pre-running is so important, as he puts the power down into that bottom bend, swings the car around, and look at it bouncing there. And we were talking about shock tuning earlier and how important suspension is. And there's a great example there of a car that hasn't been dialed in correctly.
Yeah, I think a lot of that just boils down to some of these guys, it's just the time, you know? Good seasoned veteran gets out here, understands he needs a few days for shock tuning, a few days for testing, a few days for pre-running. A lot of guys, if you get out here, if it's your first time on this course, first time in this race, you just want to get here and get racing.
Yeah, this year we've got a contingent of European racers who've come over, and they've got here 7 days before the race to do their pre-running. As you listen to the roar from that engine. And what they've discovered is that 7 days before a race isn't enough time to be prepped to get ready for King of the Hammers.
Absolutely not. You know, I was talking with Jason Shearer earlier today. We're just sort of talking about what he was going to do and when he was going to come out. You know, we talked about how many times he makes the trip out to the Hammers. All right, Cody Young leaving the line right now out on his qualifying lap. We're still waiting to see if anyone can crack that 254 top time 249 top time of Dustin Friesen so far, and nobody has.
He's looking good here as he comes on round through to the first Talladega bends. Good commitment off that first jump. Hear him check down on that gear change. Smooth as he comes round. But it's going to take a really good run to be able to beat Dustin Friesen. Let's not forget, Dustin is a seasoned competitor. He comes out here year after year after year. He knows how to put down the time. He knows how to tune his car for exactly for these situations.
Absolutely, and then you also have the fact that the course is going to be changing constantly for every single one of these guys out qualifying. So it is going to become a more difficult course in some spots, and it's going to become an easier course in some spots.
Great shots here, Cody Young making his way out towards those rocks. Now, we just saw a minute ago a car getting hooked up. So let's see what Cody can do here. Different line, going to be interesting to see.
It looks like he took the same line, just a little bit more commitment, and sometimes that's all it takes. You just need that little extra little woo-pow off the start and just roll into those rocks and commit to that line, and you will make it.
It's what we call flow. You've got to have the flow across the rocks. You just got to keep it moving all the time. Get those tires in the right place. They will bite. They will drag you over. But it's what you were saying earlier. These cars are running DOT tires. No stickies for these guys. These are basically street tires that you can go out and buy.
Absolutely, and it can be a game changer. You see someone on a trail with sticky tires and non-sticky tires, and it is a completely different trail to run.
It definitely makes a difference here at King of the Hammers. As we watch that 48-62 making his way up around the back of Short Bus. Full commitment there. You can see how choppy that ground is, and it's going to get worse as the week goes on. But Cody Young, he's really looking good here as he comes off down the far side. Now this is a difficult descent. It's really shaly, it's really loose. The steering wheel's kicking in your hands. And you don't want to overcommit. It's so easy to get a puncture. As Craig Allen takes off that first jump. Very soon we're going to see Cody Young coming round to that Jeep arch, and he'll have to make that decision. Which of the three Tridents is he going to take?
So far, we've seen everyone stick to our right, their left as they come through that arch. Very few people have committed to that center line.
Now that's interesting, because I was up there earlier, and I thought that center line looked pretty good. So I'm surprised that they're not just taking that launch.
There is probably a good chance that when they get up there, you're fully committed coming to that corner. You're probably taking whatever line is in front of you, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we saw that with Dwayne Garrettson earlier on. I mean, he went completely off track. He got himself all about shape. But that's what happens. As here we go. We're watching him now. He's coming on down through that Jeep arch. Where's he going?
And he took the center line.
Straight down the center. He was listening to you, Ian. That's what that was. Good advice there. It's worth noting he's coming around the final bend, and that's the finish as it cuts back to the start line. And just check these guys out. Looking super cool in their sunglasses. Waiting to go.
as of right now, we're still sitting with a fast time of that 2:49 of Dustin Friesen. Basically only 3 cars in that sub 3 minute mark so far.
Okay, as we're watching the 4500s and 46 and 4800s qualifying, I'm joined on stage by our current fastest qualifier, Dustin Friesen. Dustin, how was your run?
I was good. I made a couple mistakes, but never stopped learning.
Absolutely, and every day is a school day. So what's that course like? You know, with qualifying courses, historically have always been quite tough. How's this one? It looks really gnarly out the back of short bus.
It's got dug up bad. And that rock pile there, I pre-ran that with Dave Cole way 4 or 5 days ago, and it was so clean. But now you need the momentum, stick to it, don't stop. But coming around short bus, come up over the top, it's really cleaned up coming down the hill now.
Okay, so do you think it's going to be an advantage running early today, or is that going to play into your hands?
Oh, totally. I think not being in the qualifying, or what do you call it? The
Power hour.
Power hour, there you go.
Well, there's a lot of guns and glory about being in Power Hour, but I think you're really enjoying being early on course today.
Absolutely. It's going to change so much towards the end of the day. But, I mean, I count my blessings. There's so many fast guys out there coming, like Matt Howell, Jimmy Jack. Come on, they're the top guys. They're out here year after year. I'll be fortunate to contend with them.
Well, I've got a sneaky suspicion you're going to be in that top 10, so great run today, my friend.
Thank you very much.
So,
All right, right now on the line, we have Sean McBride. Oh, and we have a rollover on course.
oh, look at that. Little bit too much commitment there as he came around the bottom. Heard the engine roar and boom, on his side.
That's Mike Miller, and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, is the fact that as this course gets beat up, it gets rutted out. Those ruts will jump out and bite you, and that's exactly what we saw happen right there.
Now it's interesting to see as we see the recovery car come in. There's a big rock on the inside line. I'd love to see that again. Just see if he gave that a tickle, and that pushed him over on. That's our third rollover of the morning. As we're here at the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers powered by Optima batteries for the 4500 and 4800 four-wheel parts EMC qualifying. We see our marshals there running out the winch. All around our course are our fantastic safety marshals. And they're there on the scene in seconds.
With so many cars to qualify today, obviously we want to get that car back on its wheels so we can get out there and actually get the rest of the guys out qualifying. We already had one have to restart during the race, and that can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on who you are.
I don't think this is going to take very long. The recovery marshal will be talking to the driver now, just saying to him, make sure your foot's on the brake. Engine in neutral, gearbox in neutral. So it's a testament to the safety rules that we have for these cars. In all the rules, we have to have take care of where we put our vent lines. We have to make care of where we put all the oil fillers, all the dipsticks, etc. They all have to be sealed so we don't get oil spillages on course.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing here is just to remember we want to get that car recovered, safety, and get on with racing. But we'll take a break while we get the course cleared up and we'll get a few more guys out there qualifying. We'll be back in the action shortly at the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers, powered by Optima.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
We didn't just test the new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology, we tortured it. King of the Hammers is 181 battery-killing miles of relentless, unforgiving hellishness. It's one thing to call yourself the ultimate power source. It's another thing to prove it. The all-new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology with up to 3 times the battery life. Unsurpassed performance built to fit today's vehicles. Optima, the ultimate power source.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Johnson Valley King of the Hammers 2019. Today we're doing the 4-Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge qualifying. We've had a lot of action so far today, some rollovers, some fast times, some good times, and right now we're just watching 4507 come back into Johnson Valley to finish his qualifying lap.
Yeah, 4507, Mike Miller there, looking really good. Coming on round to the Jeep Arch. Choice of 3 lines, we keep talking about this, and he's taken that left-hand line, right-hand line for him as he's coming on down. And they've been out there pre-running, checking that and finding out what's best for them. Every car so very, very different. Every car tackling the terrain in a slightly different manner.
Yeah, but we just had Dustin up on stage, and we, as talking to him, the course changes a lot. It changes a lot. Every car that leaves this line will change that course for the car that's behind it. So there is some benefit, there's some glory for being part of that power hour that we're going to see later on, but the reality is you're racing on a very different qualifying course.
Yeah, I know from experience being a racer myself that once they get up around the back of short bus, where those cars have been accelerating hard up the hill, they're going to get lots of chop, lots of whoops and big ruts. And that's got to play into the hands of the cars who have gone first. So Dustin's actually, I know he's not particularly confident, but you know what? If I was in his shoes, I'd be really happy right now, because I think he's going to be pushing himself into a top 5 without any difficulty.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if anyone can sort of break into that sub 3 minute mark. So far, we do have only right now, I've got 4 drivers in that sub 3 minute mark. So it is a number that everyone needs to break today if they want to be in that top 10. Huge difference when it comes to race day as to who will start where. And this is a type of race that, qualifying didn't used to exist in Ultra 4 racing. It was always sort of a luck of the draw sort of start, but qualifying came in a few years ago and it has grown into a very, very important part of the race. And I think it basically plays into your race day when you want to race.
I'm on the headset now. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. It's okay, it's a beautiful day here in Johnson Valley. The sun is shining, and we've got some fantastic action taking place.
Absolutely, here at the 4 Wheel Parts Everyman Challenge Qualifier. We've had a couple technical issues here up on stage, but just bear with us. You know, Jim and I would like to talk to each other sometimes, so it's nice to hear him up on stage. So we're just working through that, but we've had great action so far. We have a few rollovers, lots of cars making some blistering fast times. As you can see, lots of cars lined up ready to still qualify. We'll have qualifying all day today, and we will also have a power hour qualifying later on this afternoon. Power hour's got some big names in it and some fast cars.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Power Hour. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We've got the likes of Jesse Haynes, of course, rock crawling superstar and legend. We've got Casey Gilbert, last year's winner. We've got Bailey Cole in there, Brad Lovell. We've got Jimmy Jack. So many fantastic drivers. It's going to be an exciting time. I know that I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and the question will be, how much has the course changed during the day? Will it affect their time? Was it the right decision to be part of the early run to get out there and get that early qualifying lap down in that fresh course? Does the course change enough that it slows you down, or does it become faster? You really don't know until those cars are out there actually doing their work on the course.
There's a few areas that are going to cut up and cut up quite badly. The first one is as they actually come off of the short course, they're going to go around the Talladega bends. They're going to come out over the first jump. After that jump, it's going to start getting choppy. As they lay down those big horsepower motors, it's going to start really cutting up out there, and you're going to see real problems for the later cars as they're really pushing to try and get those traction as they head off that jump. Once they've got past that, they come up onto the rocks. Now, those rocks, we've already seen a couple of guys roll. We've seen some guys fighting for traction there as well. That's not going to be a problem for our later cars. These cars are really good drivers, so I don't see that being an issue. But as they drop off the other side, they were going to be on that rundown where we saw Tom Ways roll a couple of years ago, and that's cutting up. We've already seen people, as they pile on the power, slewing their cars around. So the later crews, they're going to have to be careful of that as well. Then they're heading up towards around the back of Short Bus, where we've just seen another car roll, and that's going to cut up badly. That hill, there's the potential there to lose a lot of time if they just get the flow wrong going up there, and it's going to be a horsepower drag race to the top of Short Bus.
Absolutely, and that will be really come into play, I think, with Jesse. I think it's going to be interesting to see Jesse Haynes out there in that basically modified side-by-side Roxor buggy. It's not really known for horsepower.
No, it's not known for horsepower at all. In fact, you might see him actually outside the car and pushing. It's not got a lot of power at all. But where he's hoping he's going to make up for is when he actually gets out in the trails, when he actually gets into the rocks and he can get those portal axles that he's so famous for working in those rocks, and also his incredible skills behind the wheel. So qualifying's not really what Jesse's going to be all about. He's going to be actually, once he gets into the race, that he can show his talents and skills.
Absolutely. Him and I sat down and talked about that car at SEMA, and that's exactly what he said. I asked him that question, are you going to try and make this car go fast in the desert? And he said it's not really where he's going to shine. He's going to shine in the rock trails, and he feels that that truck that he built, leaf springs all four corners, portal axles, it's kind of what he's known for. He is an old school rock crawler.
But he's also a technician. Okay, what do we mean by that? He's sitting there and he's working out steering angles. He's working out geometry. And we're sitting there going, okay, this is a Roxor Mahindra Jeep. You know, this thing, the build tolerances on this are to the nearest foot. Okay, but he's taking it down to millimeters, thousandths of an inch, and that's got to be important when he gets to those trails. When he turns the wheels, he's got good geometry. That means the car picks up nicely. It means that the tires claw their way over the rocks. They don't push on forward, and it's little things like that that make big differences in races like this. We saw a car earlier today. The suspension wasn't dialed in, bouncing all over the place. So you've really got to get your preparation on point, and Jesse certainly has that.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see. It'll sort of make that ultimate decision that everyone always asks. Where do you win or lose at a Hammers race? Do you win in the desert and lose in the rocks, or do you win in the rocks and lose in the desert? And that's where Jesse's car is going to sort of really help set us a bar for that. There's a good chance that he may prove, if he does well, he may prove that you win this race in the rocks.
Unfortunately, I think the race has actually moved on a lot, and I think now you've actually got to be good in the desert and good in the rocks. I don't think you can just be that one-horse player anymore. You've got to be that guy who can do a little bit of everything and do it all quite well. So let's see what he does. I haven't got Jesse down as being my top three, put it like that, but I've got him put him down there as being an incredible superstar if he can get a Roxor Mahindra to the finish line. Okay, let's not forget that's what we're talking about here. You know, it's an incredible thing. We're talking about a real budget motor car here that, you know, all the guys out here who know about off-roading and wheeling, it's not the car that you would choose to bring to Hammers, and that's what makes it special.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I was surprised when I talked to him about it. Is my original thought process was, oh, he's going to go into a side-by-side. That's not going to side-by-side. This is going in as a Jeep. That's what I want to race it as. And I think it's interesting to see him sort of step up in that class and run that way. And I think it's great to see him out here doing that. And I think it's going to have tons of fun. It's going to be definitely going to be fun to watch.
We're just waiting for this next session to start in the four-wheel parts. EMC qualifying for 4800 and 4500 and 4600 today. As we look out views across Hammertown, it's only Monday and already it feels huge. There's so many people out here enjoying this beautiful weather. And let's not forget, it's only a few days ago, literally the roads were washing out, the mud was inches deep, and now look at it.
Well, that's sort of the risk you come when you come to the desert. If it rains here, an inch of rain doesn't sound like a lot depending on where you're from, but if you drop an inch of rain in this desert, it can be a bad day on the lake bed. You gotta remember, that's called a lake bed for a reason, right? Yeah, there's no water here, but when it rains, it becomes a lake bed in a heartbeat.
Okay, while we're waiting for the qualifying sessions to restart, we're gonna head out to a commercial break, and we'll see you very soon.
Go inside. Cozy up to the fire. Stay warm. Some call that a nice winter day. We'll have to agree to disagree.
Your bearings shoulder the burden whenever you tow, haul, or stop the gas. AMSOIL delivers powerful protection for bearings and other critical components so you can drive with confidence. To demonstrate, an independent lab put AMSOIL synthetic motor oil head-to-head against a leading competitor in a 100,000-mile test. AMSOIL provided far superior wear protection and kept engine bearings looking like new. Get your truck the protection it deserves at amsoil.com/auto.
Bring on the punishment. Steel-it polyurethane coating is proven protection. The stainless steel formulation shields against corrosion and protects against the toughest terrain. It's weldable, so there's no need to remove the coating. Just weld right on it. Go to steel-it.com for more.
Go further. Go safer. Gasoline transfer tanks for Jeeps, SUVs, pre-runners, and chase trucks. Tanks made in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty. Includes an easy-to-use shaker siphon that transfers over 2 gallons per minute. Proven tough in the deserts of Baja, the trails of Moab, all the way to the race course. Venture further. Visit TitanFuelTanks.com today.
Welcome back to the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers, powered by Optima Batteries, and we're here today for the four-wheel parts EMC qualifying for 4500 and 4800. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day, Ian Johnson.
So far, it's been a great day. You know, I like qualifying. It's fun to see. It's like that sort of like little kickoff for the week. You get to see these guys out in the cars for the first time, shaking them down. We get to see how well they work, who has problems, who doesn't, and we're about to go hot on the course.
Okay, I'm hearing news that we're just about to go hot on course as the car leaves the line. It's Sheen McBride heading out in the 689.
Yeah, you'll see him tear down through that short course. The short course is so much fun because right here in Hammertown, you can come here, you sit here, watch it yourself. We got a great place to stand up on top of the monster truck, be over there in the VIP area. It's a great, great view.
Now let's look at this car. We were talking earlier about how the differences between all these vehicles. And look at Sean's car here. The front arms are hugely long. Very different kind of looking cage format as well. And that's what I was saying. So many people bring their own ideas and technologies to these classes.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the best parts about Ultra 4 racing is no two cars are the same. Even the cars that are the same aren't the same. If you look at the Campbell cars, yes, Shannon, when he first showed up with that IFS car trailing arm setup, that car has evolved so many times over the years, and even though Bailey is now in a car very similar, it's still very different.
Absolutely. My favourite one of that is a few years ago there used to be a class called the Spec class, which is identical cars with identical axles, identical engines. Now those cars were sold off, okay, and they're now in private hands. All of those cars, since they've gone into private hands, have changed completely, and they're almost unrecognisable as the Spec class cars that they were only a few short years ago.
Absolutely, and I could just, you know, the reality is if you race a car in Ultra 4 racing, you can leave it alone for maybe a season, maybe two, but that car is going to have to come apart, get rebuilt, get changed, get upgraded if you want to stay competitive in this course.
Okay, well, which is Sean McBride here on the rocks. Now, we saw him going up there. He was taking a very, very conservative route and line, and you'll see how that dirt is clinging to the wheels. He's going to have real struggle here now to get from this position up to those rocks.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier. It's just the flow. It's just when you roll up on those rocks, it's the commitment to get up and over. And for, as we said, a lot of these guys, this could be their very first seat time this week in the race car actually racing. Pre-running is different. Shock tuning is different. Racing is a completely different mental game when you get out on that race course. And you know how important that qualifying position can be. It can be intimidating, but it can also be a great sort of driving force to get you to push that car even harder.
Now, we saw him stop there, so I'm guessing that he's left the start line in high box, and I'm guessing that once he's got there, his co-driver's sitting there going, Dog, you need to be in low box. He's like, oh God, how do I do that? And it's also simple when you're sitting in the pits. You pull that lever there and you push that button here and it all works. But when you're out on the course and you're hot, you're flustered, you're sweating, and there's things going on and you're at crazy angles, those levers never go in quite as they should.
No, absolutely not. And it's one thing that we always talk about whenever I talk to anyone who's ever coming to race this race. If you've never raced this race, probably the one thing that I learned over the years, way back racing it in 2009, 2010, I tell guys, we made the mistake when we ran it. We pre-ran, but we did not pre-run in our helmets, in our race suits. We pre-ran just like we're going on a trail ride. Well, you can't do that. You have to come out here and you have to pre-run and test as if it's race day, because just putting a helmet on and driving this car is completely different than being in the car with no helmet.
Absolutely, it's a completely different field of vision. Your peripheral vision changes totally, the way you can see the course, and particularly with the advent of neck braces. Now, the whole position of you in the car, all of a sudden you can't see to the side anymore.
Absolutely. And you can see that's part of the course right there that we were talking about that's changing. You can see those ruts have gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And if you know they're there, it's one thing. You can get into that throttle a little bit early, take advantage of those ruts, almost use them like a bank turn. But if you get into the throttle late when you're in those ruts, then you're sort of digging through all that loose sand. You lose a lot of your momentum in that particular part of the course.
And there's got to be a lot of cars who are running this pre-run course, qualifying course, and this might be the first time they're seeing this, and they're coming around and they're going, oh my word, how am I going to drive this? They have no idea there's been guys going up there twice, maybe even 3 times the speed that they think is safe to do so.
Absolutely. As we just talked to Dustin, we learned that. He said he pre-ran this course not too long ago, and it's completely different than it is today.
That's Chris Berwick, 4890, heads off the line, Legends class car. And everyone, we were talking about it earlier, everyone's going to have their own game plan, what they want to achieve from this prologue. We were saying earlier, some of the guys, they want to be at the front. Some of these guys, they just literally want some seat time. That's all it is, seat time.
Absolutely, and it's seat time, and it's seat time, race day seat time, which is completely different. I think a lot of these guys are getting out here and they just want to come, they want to experience the car in a race setting, getting ready for the big race that's coming later in the week.
The EMC is now our largest race, over 100 competitors spread across 3 different classes. Listen to that engine roar, sounds absolutely fantastic.
And there's a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. You can see that suspension is dialed in very well as he moves through that section of the course.
Now interesting, he's coming to a stop here, changing to low box maybe. I'm guessing that's what's happening.
That's absolutely what's happening there. Yeah, he's got to get that car into low range. He was moving. And that's the thing. You'll talk to some of these guys who race a lot. Some of them, that's also a thing that comes into play. That's changed a lot over the years. What low range you choose for your car.
Now this is a fantastic shot. This is a different angle than we've seen the hill before. And now you can see the severity of those rocks and the scale of those rocks, making that car look tiny as it tries to pick a route through it.
And every time one of those drivers stops in that particular spot and digs like he's digging right now, that hole gets deeper, that wall gets taller, and those are 37-inch DOT tires for most of the competitors on course today. That becomes a harder and harder obstacle to tackle.
Yeah, and he's having to take a different line, but you can see how the front end of that car is washing out completely. He's got himself quite hooked up here. The best thing you can do, probably get right back down to the bottom and have another go completely on a totally different line. But you've got to stay calm in this situation. He already knows he's made a mistake. He already knows he's just given away 30 seconds of his time. And it's really easy just to bury the pedal down to the floor and just hold it in there. But you can't do that. You've got to think about your race in a couple of days' time. If you break your junk now, you're going to run out of spare parts.
Oh, I think the reality is, you can see he went so far left. He actually went off that qualifying course. Everyone went further right. He took another line just to continue forward progression, when a better decision would have been to back down and come back up that short line. He's making this qualifying course much longer than everyone else today.
But it's easy for us to say, we're not out there.
Absolutely. So you can see now he's back down out of the rocks, probably switched back into high range, and now he's out in the desert. That's one of those things, that the decision that you have to make even when you're building the car. There's so many different transfer case ratios you can choose from. And you'll see a lot of guys that mess around with different ratios after they learn some time in the car and how they're going to drive it, how it's going to change. Do they leave it in high range? Do they actually change it into low range?
As we're watching another qualifier heading up over the top of Short Bus. Just had some pretty bad news. We've got a crew of guys coming over from, a crew of guys who've come all the way over from Europe. 5 European cars. We've got a car from Malta, we've got a car from France, we've got a car from the UK. We've even got a car here from Israel. Can you imagine that? They've boxed them up, they stuck them in the containers, they brought them over here. But we've got some bad news. Unfortunately, the French car, Nicolas Montador, famous, got an LS3 sitting around. If you can get in touch with Little Europe that's over the far side, we'd really appreciate that, and see if we can get that car back on the start line for the King of the Hammers later this week.
You know, it's one of those things that, as we talked about earlier, the prep, 7 days is not enough to get ready for this race. And when you're shipping your cars from another country, you lose a lot of time with that car.
You do indeed, but we're talking about, you know, so many people coming from the other side of the world to come racing. We've got lots of guys here from Australia and places like that as well. So we're going to get chatting to them later and finding out all about their stuff.
Next off the line will be Christian Thordenson. As you can see, that what we talked about before, the driver up there made the right decision to back all the way back down before tackling those rocks.
Okay, as we're watching this qualifier come down on course, we're talking a little bit about the international flavour of Ultra 4 and how many people come from all over the world to be here. And I'm joined on stage by someone I'm really chuffed to have here. I've got Chris Hummer here out of Australia. Now, Chris, he's won the Outback Challenge Australia 3 times. This is the biggest event in Australia, and he's over here with his friend Neil Cooper to race this race. Now, you were here last year watching. This year, you're back with a car. Tell us a little about what that's all about.
Well, we came out last year, brought our wives along and said we'll just come out and have a look, and my wife said, "You're not going to race this thing, are you?" Well, here we are. A year later, we bought a car, rebuilt it to 4400. Looking forward to it. We think it's a great race, and we've been out, done a desert run already, done a few of the rocks, so really excited about how the car's going and looking forward to the race.
Now, Australian competitors are historically what we call winch challenge competitors, and things like the Outback Challenge, Ironman, the Malaysian Rainforest Challenge, of course, which you've done for so many years, they're winch events. So now you're going to bring a little bit of that knowledge into this race?
Oh, we're going to drive everything. No, we're not. We're going to winch. Absolutely. Yeah, it's tough out there. I mean, I guess you've just got to, make a choice at the time as to what you can do, and be safe, keep it on its wheels, and if that means winching, well, that's what we'll be doing.
Okay, so we talk about expectation when we come to this race. We say, can we do well, can we not? What's your expectation? Is your expectation to, I don't know, top 20, top 10, or just a finish?
Expectation is just to finish, mate. Just to finish, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very long race. It's one of the longest races this year, 242 miles. What kind of strategy do you have?
Well, the closest thing to that, I guess, is the Mad Max we do in Australia, which is only 160 Ks. It's a lot slower because it takes about 8 to 10 hours. So I imagine we'll be going a bit quicker in this event, but the strategy's the same. Just keep hydrated, take some food along, and take it easy.
Right, well, Chris, thank you very much. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you very, very soon.
I have one question for Chris. We talk about all the time the difficulty of getting out here to Johnson Valley to race, even for those of us who call the States home. I come from the East Coast. It's a 3-day trip out here. Eric Miller comes all the way from the Northeast. How much time does it take to get a car here from Australia?
Yeah, it takes about 4 weeks in a container, and we were very lucky. We've got some help from 4 Wheel Parts, so they bought the car out from Los Angeles for us, which was really handy. Really appreciate what those guys have done for us, so really good.
So it's definitely, you have to commit to getting that car out here. It is a trip.
Oh yeah, and there's obviously a fair bit of cost to that as well, but we're only amateur team, so all the help we get is really appreciated.
Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much to Chris Hummer, one of the Australians who's come out here to race hammers this year, as we watch Jason Bunch making his way out through the rocks. And look at this, completely different approach. He throws it at the rocks and gets around there nice and smooth.
He is moving on this course. We watched him leave the line, and he was hauling the mail through that short course. You can tell guys are definitely pushing hard to try to get into that sub 3 minute mark. We still are sitting, though, with our fast qualifier being Dustin Friesen at 2:49.
But Jason, I think Jason really has got a shot at beating Dustin here. So it's going to be very interesting to see his times as he comes around the back.
I think it's we still have a lot of drivers who can definitely knock down into that 2 minute mark, and they're all coming up later today. I would just be nice. You can see he's just pushing that car and pushing, which is amazing to see on that qualifying run.
But look at this. Look at the speed and the aggression as he makes his way up there. Very few cars have been up there at that kind of pace.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is somebody who is looking at this qualifying course as a test for race day, not just a qualifier. He's pushing that car to the limit, which is a good idea in a way, because if you're going to find a weak link, today is the day to find it.
Absolutely. As Wade Coleman now charges from the line. I'm going to be watching Jason Bunch's time with interest. And he'll be making his way up to the Jeep Arch at any moment. Okay, here we go, Ian. Look at this, different line, steps across. He's been pre-running, he's been checking his lines, he knows there's going to be no hesitation here, is there?
No,
Look
absolutely, you can tell. He just came through that Jeep Arch fully committed. He would take whatever line was in front of him when he came through that
Absolutely
arch.
squarely as he comes round for the last bend. This could well be faster than Dustin Friesian. I think we're going to have to wait here. We're just waiting for confirmation on the timings.
We have an unofficial time for him at 2:39. That's 10 seconds faster.
Wow.
So if he is the new leader, once we get an actual confirmation of it, but we're waiting for the leaderboard. And yep, he is. Jason Bunch, 2:39, 10 seconds faster than the second place. That just shows you that we're going to see a lot of people come through here.
That's fantastic to see. But you could see the extra aggression, the way he attacked those rocks, the way he came off onto those soft lines, held that power down. We also see the huge explosions of dust, and that's what we were talking about earlier. And this course is now going to change. The more aggressive drivers that get on that course, the more the course will change and become harder and harder for the cars coming later on.
Oh, absolutely. I think what's going to happen here is you're going to see guys push their cars. Watching him on that qualifying lap felt like you were actually watching somebody on race day. That was how he attacked that qualifying lap, and that's why he ended up with that time. All right, Sean Leonardini off the line. You can see he's charging hard into that qualifying, that little short course section. A fun little jump right at the beginning.
And look at the livery of this car. It's absolutely beautiful. Sean Lenardi makes his way up over the second jump.
Yeah, that's definitely another fast car moving through there. Really be able to tell, it seems to be, we'll be able to tell how fast he's pushing it when he hits that first rock section.
Really interesting for me, he's clearly got a... What's really interesting for me... Go on.
As you can see, he went through that rock section incredibly quick, which seems to be so far what we've seen. That rock section seems to be what's making the difference. We just watched our new leader tackle that rock section, Jason Bunch, and he destroyed it at about the same pace.
Yeah, Sean's showing great pace here as he goes round. No, Mike's dead. Car 7 here coming round, he's looking really hot. Great to see. Momentarily on two wheels as he makes his way out through the back of short bus. Now we're talking about strategy. This guy has a strategy. You'll notice he's not carrying a spare wheel. So he's making as many weight savings as he can. Now, I've got a theory on this. My theory is this: you've just spent all that time and money setting your car up to be running with a spare wheel, and then you go and take it off. That seems a bit crazy to me. But clearly this is something he's discussed with his team, and it was the right thing to do.
It's exactly one of those decisions, you know, that comes into play. We talk a lot about the Slauson cars and how they have that spare tire on the back. Randy Slauson will be the first one to tell you that car is designed to have that spare tire on the back. It is tuned that way. When the tire comes off, that car acts completely different. So the question is, did he prep this car and shock tune it without a spare, or did he shock tune it with a spare and he just decided to pull it off for the qualifier?
Well, it's an interesting conundrum, and you also got to think about this when guys are going racing. You've got some guys coming up in the 4400 class though this week. They're carrying 60 gallons of fuel. Well, once you start chomping through those gallons of fuel, your car starts to behave totally differently. You're removing every litre of fuel is a kilo. Okay, so you start thinking about that. You're changing the whole suspension setup.
Yeah, you can see him coming in quick. He's headed up to that Jeep arch. We'll see what decision he makes at the top.
And again, this is a man who's not hesitating. He knows his lines. When they pre-run this course, they'll pick markers. As they come over the top there, they're completely unsighted momentarily. And they'll have markers in the distance, and they'll line them up, and they'll just drive straight at them.
Yeah, a very different driving strategy than you're going to see tonight at the shootout. Just so you know, anyone who runs a rock bouncer, you don't pick any markers, you just point your car at something and hit the gas. Justin Day off the line, car number 23.
So Justin Day making his way out of the short course and heading for the first of the big rocks.
Do you want to? All right, he's up into the rocks right now. You can see the decision will make. How fast could he move through here? This is where we see the difference between the leaders and everyone else. You can see that if you can get through that section quickly, it makes a huge difference on that qualifying time.
We saw that beautiful car, Sean Lenardi, crossing the line a little bit earlier, coming in 15th place with a 3:15. As we watch number 23, Justin Day, heading up through the top of the back of short bus, and look how chopped out that's getting now.
Oh, that's an incredibly worn out part of the track right there. It's going to be a very difficult race for sure.
Oh, look at this. I mean, you'd think he's running a completely different line to just Jason only a few short moments ago. Really working hard.
Yeah, I don't think that was his decision, that line. I think that line was chosen for him as he went through those ruts. And that's going to happen sometimes when you're out there on that course.
Sometimes you just get that crazy bounce, throws you across the course, and you have to deal with it. As we watch 48-68 Scott Morse. And the lines are starting to get etched in now on those Talladega bends. As Scott Morse powers off towards the second jump. Great looking car. It's very interesting to me, Ian, as we watch them come up to the rocks, how different the styles are. And look at that, it just clears that with what looks like complete consummate ease.
Absolutely, that's what we talked about earlier. We saw some drivers actually stopping, switching the car into low range to tackle that in a rock crawling fashion. I think the leaders that we're seeing right now tackling the course that are getting these fast times, they're just committing to that rock section, rolling in at the speed that they know they need. If they don't make it, they know they're already done anyway. I think that's definitely where we're going to see people pick up time on this qualifying section. That one rock section in the turn. Running that clean can be the difference between 10, 15 seconds in your time.
This is really interesting. He's got up that left-hand line. It looks much smoother. You'll see the car is transitioning beautifully. Those tyres are all staying in contact with the ground. If you can keep those tyres in contact with the ground, you can get the power down. Get the power down, you get a fast time. And that's why we spent so long tuning these suspension systems. As we watch Jeremy Jones tearing off the line, listen to that howl.
Absolutely, we talked about it earlier, just basically the growth in this sport. It's not just in suspension, it's not just in chassis, it's also in engines. I was talking with Jason Shearer last night, we were sitting around talking, he's saying, you know, having 800, 900 horsepower in these cars anymore is not unheard of. See him tear through that section of rocks into that desert. Smooth transition, lots of speed, carrying tons of power around that corner, back into the desert, and then back into the rocks. This, I think, as we're looking at, is another fast qualifying time.
Yeah, he's looking really good as he comes up around there, as we get a fantastic view of our start line.
We'll see what line he takes as he rolls through back into the rock section here.
These trim fab cars they never fail to impress. He gets a bad kick there though. You just see him come in, just kicks a rock, throws him the other way. A few seconds just spill from his hands.
It does, but William Young leaving the line, a 4591 car. Very different car. We're now into a 4500 series, basically the modified class. You'll see a very different pace from him from the previous cars that were out there.
William Young looking really hot here as he heads up towards the first set of rocks.
Definitely working very well for a 4500 car.
Well, look at this Trent Fab car crossing the line now. We'll get some times. That looked very fast indeed. So Jeremy Jones there crossing the line and unofficially third at the moment. So a fantastic run there in that Trent Fab car. We're going to see more Trent Fab cars coming out very soon. Bailey Cole, of course. So the Dave Cole's going to be out there. And there's a young man who's really grown in stature over the last few years.
Absolutely. He's definitely grown into this race course. You know, started in those spec class cars that we talked about before. Yep. Ended up owning one, racing one. And he's definitely turned up the heat in that course, in that class for sure.
Yeah, came out to Europe to race with us a few years ago. And is growing in maturity behind the wheel every year that passes. And here's William Young, just picking his way. Getting up around the back of short bus. But it's interesting, you can now start to see how really cut up that is. And every car that passes is going to make it worse.
Next car off the line will be Kevin Stearns.
Kevin, of course, a seasoned competitor, been coming here for many, many years.
We can see Kevin Stearns up into the rocks, making quick work of it. That seems to be the spot right there. If you can get through that spot, do it well, makes a huge difference in your qualifying time for sure.
You're starting to see with these faster guys now, it's really important to get that perfect line. Every area of the course, you're just looking for those couple of thousandths of a second.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, you see a lot of different cars out here, a lot of different classes of cars. You might see one car that doesn't look like it's as fast as the other car. That's because we have multiple classes qualifying today. He may not be the fastest car, but he may be the fastest of his class, which is good for him.
Yeah, let's just have a recap on classes. So we've got 4800 class out there, which is our Legends class. We've got our 4500s out there, which is our modified class. And then we've got our 4600, which is our stock price. Kevin Stern's got loads of power, but he's struggling to put it down there as he works his way up.
Next off the line is Keith Ratzberg, 4800 car.
So today's the qualifying for the four-wheel parts EMC, 4800s, 4500s, 4600s. As we watch Kevin Stearns there having problems at the top of short bus. So it didn't sound quite right. He was fighting it as he was making his way up, but he's clearly got a breakage now. So we're just hearing that it looks like he might have lost four-wheel drive. That's a real shame for Kevin Stearns, but there is a positive to this. The fact that he broke it on prologue means he's got time to get back to the pits, he's got time to get this fixed and make sure that he's back on course.
Absolutely, if you're going to break, you want to break at qualifying.
Yep. So it's not a perfect start, but there is a kind of silver lining to that dark cloud.
There is. If you can find the weak link on the qualifying course, you can hopefully eliminate it by the time it's ready to actually get out there for race day. And you know, that's why you may see some different people attacking this course with a different thought process. You know, you've got guys qualifying just for a little bit of seat time, but then you also have guys who are either pushing that car, maybe they want that fast qualifier, but they also may be pushing that car to see if they can find that weak link today. We've seen a couple really fast times out there, and they're pushing that car right to the limit.
Now this is interesting. We've got one of our course marshals. This is Gigglepin Mike making his way up here now. This is a really cool trail car, but just look at the way he's reacting going up there. And that just gives you an idea how good these race cars are.
Oh, absolutely. It's work to get up there. It's hard to sort of understand. You have loose gravel, loose sand, steep hill. That hill is much steeper than it looks on film. That's just the way it is. It always is. You can see the lean in the body of that course worker's car, trying to get up there and get in the right position to sort of get that car off the course. It's a lot of work to get up there, even just for a regular trail rig. Then you want to drive it at speed, that's a whole other issue.
And that gives you some idea of the scale. Fantastic shots here from our drones. There's our course marshal Mike there, just turning his rig round. Now we're hearing it's possible that Kevin Stearns is actually only throwing a belt. So we'll find out in a bit, but first and foremost we need to get him off the course so we can get on with this qualifying session in the four-wheel parts EMC. Nothing worse than throwing a belt, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's one of those things, it's definitely not what you want to happen. And I think the most important thing to realize is you throw a belt, for anyone at home who is not familiar with Ultra 4 racing, is usually in these cars, you throw a belt, you lose power steering. That's just the start of a very, very bad time on the trail. You know, even though they do still have, most of these cars we talk about have a mechanical linkage for the steering, it's still not enough to get through some of these rocks.
We're just watching our course recovery guys here, using the winches, synthetic winch line. And you'll see that the co-drivers just pulling that cable out nice and easy. Air-operated free spools on those winches. So as we wait for Kevin to be cleared away for course, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back shortly at the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers powered by Optima batteries for some more action from the four-wheel parts EMC qualifying.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
We didn't just test the new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology, we tortured it. King of the Hammers is 181 battery-killing miles of relentless, unforgiving hellishness. It's one thing to call yourself the ultimate power source. It's another thing to prove it. The all-new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology with up to 3 times the battery life. Unsurpassed performance built to fit today's vehicles. Optima, the ultimate power source.
Welcome back to Hammertown. It's the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers powered by Optima batteries, and we are here for the 4-wheel parts EMC qualifying for 4500, 4800 and 4600 class cars. We're going to break down on course at the moment. We're just waiting for that to be cleared away before we can get back to the action. But there's so much going on here this week. And we're going to have a quick rundown on what you can look forward to. Tonight, it's all about the Holly EFI Shootout presented by KMC King and ASC. And that's going to be brought to you by Scott and Miles. They're going to be here live on stage and giving you all of the best of these rock-bouncing nutcases as they throw their machines against the worst rocks in Johnson Valley.
After that is AMSOIL After Dark, starting tonight at 9 p.m. Basically a recap show of what's happened during the day. You'll see it a couple times during the week. You'd be able to recap on everything that's been happening, what the big news is, what's going to happen the next day. That'll be tonight. That'll be tonight live 9.
Yeah, that After Dark, I'm really looking forward to. That's going to be exciting. And then tomorrow, it's the 2019 King of the Hammers qualifying for the 4400 class cars, and that is going to be brutal.
That's the show you don't want to miss.
That's the show you don't want to miss. Of course, we've got Power Hour in the afternoon. Then in the evening, it's the Pit Crew Challenge, new to King of the Hammers for this season. We've got the best of the pit crews on stage, and we're going to see who's fastest.
And it's something you don't really think about, but when you actually see on race day, it makes a huge difference in someone's race, how fast that pit crew gets that car in and out of the pits.
Absolutely. Seconds can be lost, and it's those seconds. We see it every race. Only a few seconds separate these cars after 200 miles of racing, so it's really important.
What? All right, now we're back on Wednesday. We'll have some more qualifying, and then another live After Dark broadcast where you bring back the AMSOIL After Dark recap of what's happened during the day, see what you've missed, and what you can look forward to for the next day.
And then it's the new one for the 2019 King of the Hammers. It's a Desert Invitational. We're getting all the Desert superstars out here. Bryce Mendes, Rob Mack, and so many more. And they're going to be bringing their T1 trucks out here and showing us what they can do against the sands of Johnson Valley.
And then, of course, once again, another live AMSOIL After Dark recapping us again before we move on to the big show on Friday, which everyone looks forward to every year. I know that's what if I wasn't here, I've always been watching the live feed from home.
Yeah, it's an amazing show. Nearly 100 vehicles will be bursting from the line with all the big names. There's going to be Shannon Campbell, Randy Slauson, Jason Shearer, and so many other people. The Gomez brothers are, of course, on fire. Let's not forget JP. He's a 2-time winner at the moment. Can he make it a hat-trick, pick up his first ever King of the Hammers win? Are we going to see someone new, or is it going to be a repeat of the previous 2-time kings, and maybe even Shannon Campbell, of only 3-time king?
The race that I always look forward to see is I want to see, once again, Friday, recap of it all, 10:30 the whole week, AMSOIL After Dark, be able to go back through the whole week, recap everything that's happened, what you've missed. It's going to be a great time.
Okay, and then after that, we've got the 2019 KOH Week Awards. Live broadcast goes out on Saturday, February the 9th. At 9:30 a.m. and you'll get to see all the cars, all the drivers from all classes collecting their prizes and the awards that they've worked so hard.
We are back on course. The recovery is done. We're just waiting for the next qualifier to leave the line. So far, our fast qualifier right now is Jason Bunch at 2:39. We sat for the longest time with a 2:49. He was able to shatter that with a 10-second push. So a 2:39 is the fast time to beat right now as we work through all of our 4-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifiers today. All right, we just got qualification that we are back to racing. Course is hot again. We're going to see our next qualifier leave the line right now. That's Keith Ratsburg off the line, heading into the short course section.
And look at this car, so totally different to so many we've seen out there.
Knowing the lines of that car, that is a goat-built 4-seater buggy. So there will be back seats in that car, which is super cool when you think about it. Take your friends out on the race course if you want to.
Don't forget, the first time I came to this race, we went out. First time I ever came to this race, went out to Spooners and Outer Limits to test it. We're driving up through there, and we had a 4-seat trail rig come past us. It was interesting to say the least.
He tried to save it, he grabbed reverse, but not soon enough. He may pull it out, we'll see. It does not look like he's going to be able to bring that car back over. He tried to grab reverse fast. You heard it on the Jumbotron speakers out here, but it was not quick enough. He got eaten up by those ruts, ended up on his side.
Okay, well, we're waiting for the recovery. I've got Chris Ree up here, who's Jeremy Jones's co-driver, and he's just going to tell us a little about how that run was. Now, we've just seen you out there. You're just coming in 3rd place. How are you feeling?
It actually felt really good. The car felt really fantastic. Obviously, Trent Fab builds a fantastic 2-seat car and a 4-seat car that we've been pre-running all weekend. Jeremy's a fantastic driver, so we really hit that first rock section pretty hard. We really wanted to shoot for a top 15, top 20 for starting. To hear we qualified 3rd, that's absolutely fantastic. I know we got a lot of heavy hitters coming up though. So, you know, we'll just see how the time stacks up. Maybe the ruts will get worse, and we'll have a little bit more luck on our side, like this one here. And it's unfortunate to see him on his side, but it means it's one less competitor we got to pass tomorrow.
Now, we've been watching the course out there. How's it cutting up out the back of Short Bus?
Back of Short Bus was actually pretty nasty. We wanted to run a different line than we did, and we hit a bad bounce and just kind of had to roll with what we came with and just go through it. Luckily, we were able to keep it and keep the fast course. You know, we got the Maxxis tires that really dig, and our raceline wheels obviously hold up better than anything out here. So, you know, we're able to just drive into the ruts and drive it hard and let the tires eat, and or as Tom Ways likes to say, we just let her eat.
Fantastic. Well, it's a fantastic time. I think that here, engine's now starting as Keith Ratsburg gets back on his wheels. Good luck, Chris, and we look forward to seeing you on race day.
Obviously, thank you. Hopefully we'll be up here getting an interview with you again for my 4th time this year.
We look forward to it. Good luck. So Keith Ratsburg's been recovered. He's going to be making his way back into Hammertown. He's just going to pick his line back, get himself off course, get back to his pits, dust himself off, and change his strategy for the upcoming race.
Absolutely. With a rollover like that in recovery, he'll be starting at the back of the pack. Have to push his way through many more cars.
Yeah, he's going to be repairing that light bar mount as well by the looks of it. You can see the light bar push through the window. So once he's to the bottom of the hill, clear of the course, and it's safe to send the next car, the race ops will give the thumbs up, and we'll be back to qualifying. There's some really beautifully built cars in these three classes. Let's not forget we're here for the Yukon 4500s, the Spider Tracks 4600s, and the Brannick Motorsports 4800s Legends class.
Chance Holloman will be our next car off the line as we push through all the four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifier today, including the Power Hour later this afternoon. You can see even though he was rolled and put back on its wheels, he's going to finish this course today.
Yeah, Keith's trying to turn the speed there as he just crosses the line. Won't count, of course. But at least he's off the course, and now we can get back to the qualifying. And here we go, Chance Holloman going to be leaving the line at any moment. So 4800 class car, Legends class car, single shock on each corner, hydraulic steering. A class designed for the older 4400 class cars to drop into, but it's also such an interesting class because people are building cars specifically for it. Very competitive.
Yeah, it's certainly a class that's been growing and growing and growing over the years. You see more and more of those 4800 cars showing up, and like you said, cars being built specifically for that 4800 class, which is definitely interesting, makes for a fun race day.
I always find it amazing with a single shock car that they can actually get them to perform so well in those desert environments. It's quite remarkable.
Absolutely.
And it's testament to all of the shock absorber companies out there that are really pushing the boundaries of shock technology and design.
Well, if you look back to the very beginnings of the Ultra 4 racing and all the guys that came out here, a lot of these cars, when they first showed up, having bypass shocks and a coil carrier shock, that was not the norm. There were only a few guys running that way. There were only a few people who adopted trailing arms in the early years. Randy Slauson was the guy who had a very fast single shock car, and it can be done. There were times when lots of guys were running very quickly in the desert with a single shock. Is it harder? Yes. Are you as fast as a car with a bypass and a coil carrier? No, you never will be. But you can still push that car incredibly quick through all these environments, and it works very, very well.
Indeed it does, and now of course with the advent of internal bypass shock absorbers as well. Okay, it doesn't quite work quite as well as an independent coil carrier and a bypass, but they are a very close second.
Well, you just got to think of the shock oil that's being carried in these cars. I mean, you look at some of them, just the shock absorbers themselves getting larger and larger, all that extra fluid in there. The real detriment to these shocks is just the cycling of them, the heat that gets built up in that shock. All that heat causes the fluid to degrade, causes it to aerate over time, and can cause the shock to not be as functional. That's why you see that extra shock. You see those larger bypass shocks, 4-inch shocks on some people's cars out there. That's what they're after. They want more fluid in there. Shock lasts a lot longer on race day. And like you said, 240 some odd miles is a long time to be punishing a shock absorber in the dirt.
It is indeed. As we're watching Nate Williams now, starting his pre-running course. Starting his qualifying course, should I say. But it's been a fantastic morning of action so far, Ian. We've seen multiple rollovers, we've seen some very fast times, some great cars, and some great driving across all three classes.
Absolutely. I think, you know, you got these guys out here on these qualifying runs who are pushing the cars. You can tell which drivers are pushing the car incredibly hard, laying down incredibly fast times. They will be the ones to watch on race day. But at the same time, you've got guys out there who are just out there in the car, possibly for the first time in race fashion. They're just out there in their 4,500 cars, getting a feel for what it's like going to be like on race day. And you can see a very different strategy for these guys when they're in the dirt.
Yep. As we're watching coming out to the rocks now, these rocks seem to be a real point of view, we were saying, it seems to be how you can see people's how much experience they have, how much seat time they've had, but the way they approach that first set of rocks. We're seeing some guys who are really anxious about it, taking their time, trying to crawl the rocks. We're seeing other guys who are just absolutely hitting it flat out and making it look so easy.
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of that is also depending on how they set up that car. Some guys set up these cars specifically to only need to use low range when needed. They want to run these rock courses if they know it's going to be a fast section in high range, stop that shift. Other guys have built the car where it has to go into low range to climb up some of these rocks, and that's the cars you've seen them stop and shift. Some of these guys are just rolling in there, full bore, lots of throttle, lots of commitment, because that's how they set up the car. A lot of it, that's what it boils down to, is what did you build the car, how's it going to react, how did you build it to react in the dirt.
Yeah, I was watching Nate Williams there, the 4530 going up over the top of Short Bus. And his modified class car. He's doing a great job here. It's not going to be the fastest run, but he's nice and clean. He looks smart, he looks sharp.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example we were talking earlier. That's a different class of car, a 4500 class car. He's not going to look as fast as a Legends car because it's built different. It has much stricter rules that it has to abide by.
And that steering is the big one.
I think the steering,
Really
I think the
difficult.
suspension, I think it's a big player. In those 4500 classes, you see a lot of similar type cars. You see a lot of Jeeps, you see a lot of Cherokees. We saw a lot of Grand Cherokees for a while in that class because of the engine option.
Watching Josh Ebel there, making his way out towards those first rocks. Let's see what he does now. Oh, he's got a lovely flow rate there. Look at that, just picks a line.
Absolutely pure commitment into that rock section.
Yep.
Knew where he wanted to be, put the car exactly where it had to be, made it very, very smooth, made up a lot of time.
He did, yeah, it's very good driving there. As Nate Williams crosses the line, and in a moment we're going to see our first female pilot of the day. Beverly Croy is going to be leaving the line. .45-44 car.
Fast up that section of the course.
That was looking good, wasn't it? Different line there. As we watch Josh Ebel come down the back of Short Bus. And Beverly
Croy leaves the line.
Our first female competitor of the day. We haven't seen Jessie Combs yet, but she'll be back out here later, I have no doubt. Jessie, of course, won 2 different classes in Ultra 4 racing. Won the spec class and then last year the stock class. As we watch Beverly come on round through the first of the Talladega bends. As Beverly checks out of Hammertown, heading back up towards the rocks. Josh Ebel makes his way down through the Jeep arch, heading for the finish line.
Some
Beverly
great
stopping
qualifying so far today. You can see right there that stop section we talked about before, that stop to get into low range. That can make a huge difference on these cars.
She's just getting hooked up there. Just needs to come back down. Slightly different line, but most importantly, she needs more momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. You've seen the drivers so far that have gone in there, what we would say relatively hot, have been able to roll through there with a little bit of speed and come up. And a lot of that just sort of depends on, can you hit that in high range in that vehicle? Who knows? Maybe if you pre-ran, that would be the smart pre-run. Go out there and try it. Try that in high range, try it in low range, make those decisions, because that is where the time is lost on this particular qualifying course.
We see her just giving a little bit more aggression there and clearing the rocks with ease. .48.98, a Taurusura. These cars are so beautifully prepared. And you can see as we look up around the back of Short Bus there, Beverly Croy makes her way through, and you can see how chopped up it's now getting. Quite rutted.
Very different course than we saw first thing this morning. As you can see, more and more cars through there, especially that one turn. That turn has bit a few more competitors than what we expected to see today. Just coming in there a little bit hot. Those ruts are starting to eat up.
And you can't back off here. You need to actually have some commitment. Put that foot down and get those tyres eating. As Beverly crosses over the top of Short Bus, Arturo Soria will be leaving the line and heading out onto course. Arturo looks like he's driving one of the Jimmy Spec Class frames. Great cars, incredibly robust. Purpose built for these classes and designed for the 4-wheel parts EMC race.
Definitely pushing it hard. Being able to hear that engine all the way back here in Hammertown.
You can see that back end there just lifting. See what Arturo does here. Look at this, great images here. Get some idea of the scale. He makes that look very simple. Great driving there as he hops down onto the desert, washes it out, holds it together.
And that's a perfect example of what we were talking about not too long ago. Hitting that one section just slightly differently, a little bit of speed, maybe not even shifting into low range. You can clear that if the line is right.
As Arturo Soria comes over the top of Short Bus, John Williams is on the line and getting ready to start. We're watching John Williams now on course, coming around the second of the bank turns. Hey, he's looking nice and tidy, nice pace. Not too fast, not too slow. It's interesting here, just watching the wheel frequencies, and I'm still convinced that this is going to really rut out tomorrow for the 4400 class cars as they put down much more horsepower and they'll start digging out those little whoops.
Well, what'll happen is every one of those 4400 cars will also land in a different spot on the backside of that jump. Every time one of those cars lands, there's going to be a little bit of a rut dug out. If you land too early, you're going to have to eat through all those ruts. If you can land behind them, then you got clean land on the backside. So it definitely will make a huge difference tomorrow during 4400 qualifying.
It's also worth noting we've had almost an entire morning's of qualifying, and we haven't seen a single flat tyre yet. That's amazing.
Absolutely. I think the tire technology for this particular event has changed so much. You've got companies out there, and you also have to remember these are DOT tires. These are tires that you buy. These aren't race tires. That is a requirement of this course. A DOT tire out there running this course, it just sort of shows how tough these tires are. Even though this is just a really short version of the race, they are being punished out there for sure.
They are, because people are driving lines that they perhaps wouldn't drive when they're racing, because they really want to be at the front of the pack. So they're throwing it at the furniture, they're throwing it at the scenery.
Absolutely, and the reality is, this is a qualifying lap. You can't stop and winch. On race day, it's not a sprint. It is an endurance race. You do have time to stop, plan your winch anchors, winch over some stuff that you might not hit. This qualifying lap, you're going to hit it as hard as you can, as fast as you can.
And as they come over the top of short bus there, they're completely unsighted. You can't see a thing. Hood's in the air, all you can see is the sky. You have a total leap of faith as you throw yourself over the top. So John Williams is making his way down through short bus now. He'll be shown at the Jeep arch. And he'll be the last of our qualifiers for a little while. We might have the odd one just turn up. So we saw John Williams there taking a slightly different line as he makes his way out around towards the Jeep arch. And it's worth noting that there are going to be new lines that are actually going to be coming through. So as John comes on down through now, we're going to throw some results up and show you what's been going on this morning so far in the four-wheel parts EMC qualifier for 45, 46 and 4800 class cars. Okay, let's have a recap of some results. So this is the 4500 four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge results board. So far in first place we've got Dustin Friesen with a 249.1. In his second place we've got Dwayne Garrettson with a 325. In third is William Young with a 332. But we're talking about three different classes today. So if we have a look at the next leaderboard, we can see what's going on there as well. This is 4600 class, which is the Spider Tracks 4600 class. We've got a 352 there for Christopher Desora, and in second we've got Daniel May Applegate with a 457. And in the 4800 Legends class, which is the Brannock Motorsports, we've got Jason Bunch. We saw his fantastic run there with a 239. Jeremy Jones in second with a 249.2, and third Scott Morse with a 251. Only just behind him is Kent Foltz with a 254. It's been a fantastic display of qualifying out here this morning, Ian.
Absolutely, and we still have our leader is still sitting with an amazing qualifying time of 2:39 of Jason Bunch. That is our fast qualifier so far today. We sat for most of the day with 2:49, but then we've had him blister through at the 2:39. So we're going to just, after reviewing those results, going to take a quick break, and we'll be back shortly with the 2019 Nitto King of the Hammers, powered by Optima.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
We didn't just test the new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology, we tortured it. King of the Hammers is 181 battery-killing miles of relentless, unforgiving hellishness. It's one thing to call yourself the ultimate power source. It's another thing to prove it. The all-new Optima Yellow Top with Pure Flow technology with up to 3 times the battery life. Unsurpassed performance built to fit today's vehicles. Optima, the ultimate power source.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Johnson Valley King of the Hammers 2019, powered by Optima batteries. We are back with a day of qualifying for the 4-wheel parts Everyman Challenge, the Yukon 4500 class, Spider Tracks 4600 class, and the Brannick Motorsports 4800 class. We just have a little break in the action when we get our